Wow. I can't even believe it. Where do we start with what has transpired over the last, 5 days? Wow, Thursday, let's see, is that 5 days? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, I guess 4 days. 4 days. Craziness, but we're to expect it, which is why we titled today's show, Putting on the Armor of God. Was that me? That little feedback? Was that Chris? Chris, are you messing with your audio?
I am messing with my audio like you wouldn't believe. No. No, I'm not messing with the audio.
Anyhow, a lot out there. Today's show, Putting on the Armor of God. It's intentional in light of everything going on. You're seeing people you talk about, it's like the pinball wizard, flapping those flappers and the ball bouncing off this is people today. It's like, take a chill pill, not the black pill. You don't even have to take the red pill. Just relax and enjoy life. Chris and I were just kind of debriefing on our weekends. Myself, I'm feeling like I need a little more Aspercream today based on my activity of moving. My wife and I are moving into a new construction that we built, and obviously decided to do since we had downsized here a couple years ago, which downsized. It's I don't know how many boxes we downsized, but we still have some boxes to move and furniture to move, and I did it. Got some help from my older brother. He might even join us here in the comments today. Hey, it's good to see you, Sarah. Thank you for tuning in. My brother Mark should be jumping on, I'm assuming, but Mark was the one that at 65 years of age threw around some heavy dressers and beds and things like that. But thank you, Pam. Congrats on the new home. Well, it's obviously all the glory to God, because I don't know how long he'll keep us there. It's no different than our other venture that we didn't anticipate being involved in, and well, that's not necessarily true, but the truthful is we didn't think it was going to come to fruition, but we were obedient and we listened, and sure enough, here we are. We are on fire, which is how supposedly all things are supposed to happen here in our world. At some point, God came with fire this time, not with water, but with fire. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to play out, which is why we need to put on the full armor of God, which is the name of the show today. Heck, how can we, let go of, well, I let go of it, but, on Thursday, shortly after our show was over, I think it happened on Friday morning. There was the whole debacle of Trump putting out the election fraud video, or I should say Truth Social, on his account. They posted a video of voter fraud, which wasn't fully vetted and fully edited. And I don't even know the terminology where it jumps to another video right away, but it happened to jump to a video that was a parody of making light of different political opponents to Trump, obviously Democrats, and their faces were cropped onto caricatures or characters or animals from The Lion King, and somehow, somewhere, that the progressives are going to jump on an opportunity like that. Somebody screenshot it and said, look at this, the racist put this up. We always knew he was a racist. JB Pritzker came out and said, Trump's a racist. Of course, JB, we get it. We know he's a racist. We know he's a rapist. We know those are two R words, a racist and a rapist. We know he's a pedophile. That's actually your bigger one that you use. He's a pedophile, misogynist, Islamophobic, transphobic. Am I missing any, Chris? Did I get most of it?
Nazi. You forgot Nazi.
Which, yeah.
I mean, they're kind of the same, but they're different brands of the same thing.
Different brands. Well, as you can see, Chris is right there with me. Yeah, Chris. I mean, so we were talking about the recycling thing, because once again, the obstruction is going to continue to come, putting on the full armor of God, which is the name of today's show. And I want to bring it back to full circle because in light of, even the Super Bowl, we had so many months to prepare for the fact that I'm not going to call him by his name. I'm going to call him what Don Julian's calling him, Sad Bunny. Sad Bunny rather than Bad Bunny, or whatever, Mad Money. Mad Bunny, Sad Money,
Mad Buddy.
Bunny, whatever. Mad Money. Oh, that was with Mad Money was with what's his name?
Jim Cramer.
Jim Cramer.
Yeah.
But Sad Bunny, we had time to prepare for Sad Bunny. We saw a little bit of Sad Bunny in the Grammys. We knew that he was going to have something in store for us. And of course, it's a whole different form of nationalism that he presented, which was more of the nationalism of America, not the United States of America. And, that is who we're known as America, not South America, North America, but it was a celebration of South America on Super Bowl Sunday, which, put on the full armor. I don't know, Chris, I know Española, so I don't know. There he is. Mark,
only roughly 16% of the population speaks Spanish. So, to have a show that's dedicated to Spanish speakers is a little short-sighted. I guess they think that they're going to expand to other markets that way internationally, but I don't see it.
Well, I don't know.
Everybody there thinks football is the thing with the round ball.
Hey, Jordan, good to see you. Mark, I did give you a shout out earlier but Mark, of course, is always going to make it very colorful. Baal Bunny, which Baal meaning the Satan Bunny, and his Punk Goodell. Yeah, well, obviously we're not big into name calling here, but to some point, you understand why it is that these people have pet names for different characters like this, because they do. But you're right, Chris. How do they expand internationally when we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation, the founding of our nation this year? What a great opportunity it would have been to do a halftime show like TPUSA chose to do, which I don't know about you. I was never in doubt what I was going to watch. I listened to it via Rumble, and then I stopped after a long day of moving and grabbed some amazing wings. Hey, if you're listening and you're in the area of Central Illinois, specifically Danvers, Illinois, there's a little place there called The Vault. Man alive, their food is amazing. The wings that I had 6 wings, they were 85 cents a piece. I guess they offer that on Sundays, 85 cents a piece for a wing.
That's good.
I could have got 12. That would have been $12, but I couldn't eat 12. I could barely eat 6 wings, and they weren't these wimpy little wings. They were full body wings. I mean, they were good. And of course I partook in a let's see, I had a Yingling. I was going to go with another beer, but I figure I better keep it safe. And I did have 2 beers. That seems to be my limit. But I got to watch the Kid Rock come back out and do that little melody, that little ballad, and until you can't. What a performance that was. And just, it's once again consumerism, materialism, whatever you want to call it. I call it capitalism. I don't know, Chris, if you're aware of where Till You Can't has gone, his new little ballad, Kid Rock. Mm-hmm. It went to the top of the charts.
Oh,
the downloads on Till You Can't surpassed Sad Bunny. Sad Bunny obviously was getting a lot of, and probably in anticipation of his halftime performance, was getting a lot of downloads. I'm not going to download that stuff because, as I began to say, I don't know Española. But if indeed these people who are translating what was said on a national syndicated TV program, or a national spotlight program, not syndicated, but spotlight program like the Super Bowl, if indeed the lyrics that he was singing during family time, I don't think I ever have to ever ever. I mean, and like I said, that's what you choose. I choose not. I choose to put on the armor of God. I choose to try to keep my mind, my heart, my body. Granted, I know I just told you I ate the wings. I do eat the wings. I do eat the wings, but I do eat most of the time. I'm very healthy eating. I try to do well. Just came through 21 days of fasting where we did the Daniel fast, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's vegetables, fruits. We did have some nuts. So I gave up no alcohol, no dairy, which means no cheese. I love cheese, no meat. And basically I drank water and ate vegetables. Now, granted, you can become very creative on the Daniel diet because there's potatoes, right? And plenty of vegetables, vegetable broth. We made a lot of vegetable chili because you can do black beans. So legumes you can do on the Daniel diet, supposedly. And then maybe not if you're doing the pure Daniel diet, you're not eating legumes. But I don't know what Daniel ate back in the lion's den. I know one thing, he didn't get eaten. But we just came through that. So I try to eat healthy, and I hope that you do too. I mean, but in moderation. But you got to limit what you're bringing in to your vessel, which is part of the reason I say put on the armor of God, Chris, because these attacks are going to continue to happen. Here we are. We're 1 month into 2026. We knew that eventually they were going to try to build some momentum. They didn't know how they were going to do it. Of course, they were doing a bunch of crazy stuff last year, but I think they were just so I don't know what's the word, Chris. They weren't prepared. I knew that. I think they knew that Trump was going to win the presidency as the 47th president of the United States, but they weren't really ready for it. I think part of that is because they had so many holes. I mean, they were taking water, as the proverbial saying goes. Our
whole situation was a desperation. They threw out one presidential candidate for another, and without any real input from their party. So it really was a mess.
No votes. Well, and so that brings us to fast forward to here. There's still a party that is struggling, and granted, so that's why they're going to gravitate to the heartstrings, right? The issues of, oh, can't we all just, what was Bad Bunny or Sad Bunny? His whole program was about love over hate, and the love that he's talking about isn't God's love. It's an adulterated love. He's not defining it as Scripture defines love, because God is love. And no, he's defining it as more of a perversion, which is, that's going to happen. But so they got to gravitate towards these heartstring things like Sad Bunny or the illegal immigration, illegal aliens. And so they have to pivot off all these things because they've been caught and they know that. And I think it's this year, Chris, is going to be the year where all of this is really brought. I know we're questioning some of the cabinet and what has been done to this point, especially the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate, why they haven't moved at a faster pace. Because we've got people like the commissioner of the NFL who's willing to contract a guy like Sad Bunny. So now you know how screwed up this world is, especially in the year that would have been the 250th anniversary of our nation and the founding of our country. Our country is there's a lot of light that is starting to speckle through, but there's still a lot of darkness that's being uncovered. And I think that's, what will be unveiled this year. And yes, I think you're going to see more attacks. You're going to see more division. You're going to see more violence. You're going to see a lot of it just because this is how people react when they're backed into a corner.
Well, and I think you're going to see more desperation on the Democrat side, and you're going to see more extreme candidates being pushed forward. And you're even seeing people who run as moderates and then go completely off the rails, like we saw in the governor of Virginia, where they're passing huge tax increases, open sanctuary state issues, and there's no end to what they might try and put through. California is the same way, and unfortunately in Illinois we've got Pritzker, who's basically in the same category as that as well. So we're seeing the desperation of that party.
Yeah. Well, and Chris, so here's some of the desperation. And, these sometimes we need to just ask ourselves the obvious questions, which we kind of heard, at no other time in the history of the electorate, the vote. And, once again, being sensitive, if you really listen to the context of the video that was mistakenly or put up without being vetted, and I believe mistakenly, come on, nobody wants to put up a stupid video like that if it's the president's account. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, for people to act as if it's intentional. Go and look at his corporation, Trump International. Go and look at his cabinet. Look at the diversity. Now, granted, we don't have quite the extreme diversity of the guy that was wearing dresses with the mustache and stealing luggage out of airports, or the gal who was supposed to be the Health and Human Services Secretary, who obviously you needed to be, in some other line of work because she wasn't exuding health and human services, well, more human services. But he's got a diverse cabinet. So with that, by no means do I believe that was intentional. However, I think that, Chris, as you just pointed out, and I think this is the key, as I'm kind of getting myself really wrapped up in this. And when I do that, I kind of lose focus because I've got about 7,000 things to say. And I want to make sure that we get that out today because it's so important that we realize ultimately what truly is in front of us. And I think, Chris, you start thinking about something and it literally just almost blanks your entire mind out. I started thinking about the cabinet for Joe Biden. And, because they promoted it was the most diverse cabinet, and the band of characters that he had on that cabinet, that in of itself is the highlight of if you want to know what is wrong with the culture that we live in, it's that. It doesn't.
We put on the Federal Reserve Board, that Lisa Cook woman was not even able to do her own research properly for her PhD thesis. The plagiarism. Well, there was plagiarism, but there was just complete errors. She didn't understand that she was trying to prove that we're a racist society, of course, right? Yeah. And so as part of that, what she did was she went out and she looked at the Chicago World's Fair and used that because they were tracking. Imagine that the Chicago World Fair that we're talking about the early part of the 1900s. They were tracking how many of the vendors were people of color during that time, and of course, when the fair ended, they quit tracking it. Right? Makes sense, right? Well, she counted that as a drop off in number of Black entrepreneurs and blamed it on some racist idea, when in fact it was just that they quit tracking it because they didn't have a fair anymore, so they don't track it. And so she counted it as a big decline over racism. So it was clearly incorrect information on top of plagiarism. And then then you look at the Supreme Court justice who doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. Yeah, he got appointed. So you really have some winners in that group.
Well, and so thank you, and exactly. So the fact that we line those people up, this is the smoke and mirrors. This is why it's so important we guard our beings spiritually, mentally, physically. Jordan, I do like your yes. Will his son run? I think there's such a hardcore lineup of conservative leaders like Marco Rubio, um, Pete Hegseth, JD Vance. Uh, heck, I think he's a little old, but Lutnick, Chris Wright, I think.
I think Lutnick is out of the race now. There's no way he's going to do it because he vacationed on Epstein Island.
Yeah, well, and I think that yeah, he's going to have to default, and he might even be out of the cabinet.
Yeah.
But I think there's people like that that'll kind of weed themselves out. If you
Well, then you've got the governors, and you've got the governor of Florida, DeSantis, and
so you've got such an all-star lineup. I think Ron DeSantis obviously was not on Epstein Island. Mark Rubio was not on Epstein Island. Thank you, Chris, for pointing that. I forgot about Lutnick, but I was going to say Sean Duffy. I think Sean Duffy is a very powerful up and coming. I mean, and I've got a screenshot that I'm going to share with you in regards to that. It's on Truth. But I did recapture in my mind. It sometimes it takes me a while to get back. But here's what I wanted to share, Chris, is when we say what is in store. Well, we know that 81 million people supposedly voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Can you see this on your screen? Maybe, well, let me see if I can blow it up. Can you? Let me see if I can blow it up. No, can I blow it up even more? Yeah.
Yep.
Move it over a little bit. So this was put out by Elon Musk, shared this. These are the mail-in ballots for the past 6 presidents of the United States of America. 15 million in 2004, 23 million. So this is the mail-in ballot. This is why they don't want voter ID. 23 million in 2008, 27 million in 2012. And then, of course, they're starting to build some momentum. 2016, the year that Trump was elected, 33 million. Now, surprise, the Gomer Pyle. Surprise, surprise, surprise. 2020, the year of Joe Biden, 81 million votes. 2020, they had 70 million mail-in ballots. Is that even possible?
The liberals and leftists will tell you that it was all about COVID. I would like to see the breakdown of which party voted for what. And
well, but the interesting thing is
we know that mail-in ballots also have the highest propensity for fraud.
But Chris, it's no different than J.B. Pritzker, the governor here in Illinois. He went from so this would have been 2018. So let's see, 2016, 2018. So between 16 and 20. So he went from his 2018 run for governor, which was he was going up against incumbent Bruce Rauner, who really isn't a Republican, but anyhow,
right.
Neither here nor there. He got 2.5 million votes in Illinois. But yet in 2022 against Darren Bailey, he lost 300,000 votes. That's significant. He lost 10% of his votes. Well, look at this little stat. Okay, we didn't have COVID in 2024. Obviously, we were well beyond COVID because now they started to uncover, obviously, the scamdemic that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers dropped down to 49 million, which is still a lot. Once again, they entrenched it because of the 70 million. But it doubled from 16 to 2020. Once again, Chris, you point out COVID. And 2024, it doesn't quite cut in half, but it did lose 21 million votes. That's almost unheard of. The percentage of loss.
Well, you would think that people who found out that it was so convenient to vote by mail in 2020 would have done the same thing in 2024. Why all of a sudden did 21 million people decide to go out and vote in person?
Well, and that's what I say about Herr Pritzker, JB, King Pritzker, is, why? Yeah, Elon posted this 2 days ago on X. Shout out to Elon, obviously sensitive enough to stay on top of stuff like that. Yeah, I think that is worthy of really looking at it. He puts out
Well,
major fraud vector.
well,
Obviously,
and that's what his point is when you look at those numbers of mail-in ballots and then attach to it the voter rolls that aren't being properly vetted, you, and then you don't even look at the signatures and validate that, you, there's no way that there's not a lot of fraud in there. The only argument that leftists have right now is that because people who sued over those kind of issues weren't allowed to have standing, so they counted that as being ruled against. Well, that just meant that the case never really was looked at, and no one looked any closer. So,
yeah.
we're going to see with this new look at Georgia whether we'll see the
The
fraud.
seven the seven 700 boxes that were carried
Yeah.
out by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Oh, I think, well, they're already starting to backpedal. A lot of those people are already caving and admitting because they know when you talk about the RICO violation that they tried to pin on Trump and like 17 other people, now is going to come full circle back around to the actual criminals in this,
Well, and that was the whole case is based on fraud that Trump really didn't. He knew that there was no fraud or that there was no illegalities in the election, and so by him saying that there was meant that he was committing some kind of fraud, which of course that was a weak argument in and of itself because it never really had any kind of legal precedence to be applied to that. But so when you look at what went on there, it was only an excuse to go after Trump. It never really had any legal basis for actually working.
Sarah, do you think Ted Cruz would make another run? I don't think Ted's going to make another run at the presidency. And partly the reason is Ted probably, when it comes to the law, Constitution, Ted's probably one of the smartest people out there. He's very studied in the Constitution, constitutional law. Obviously, as a lawyer, I think Ted would admit there are a lot of good, solid, young Republicans out there. You look at even Byron Donalds, who's going to run and win the governor's race in Florida. I mean, you've got Tim Scott, still relatively young. You've got just a host of good, solid, younger Republicans, which I think helps to propel that. So, yes. Anyhow,
I agree with you logically. What you said makes a lot of sense, but don't underestimate the ego stroke that running for president is, and that's why a lot of people run for it. Even
well, it does pack money into your coffers, but
that too, yeah.
At this point, I think Ted. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say I even think that Ron DeSantis is probably going to take some time. I mean, Ron DeSantis is relatively very young and could come in and at any point. And I think those guys are talking, right? I think JD Vance and Marco Rubio, and I mean, they're all kind of positioning things in conversations that are so level up here to the DPB show where Chris and yours truly sit around and jaw jack about, the latest and greatest, which, I was going to kind of shift away from the voter craziness and voter fraud, because here's one of the questions I want to ask you, Chris.
Okay.
We covered this last night, and Mrs. Producer is teaching a Bible study class at the Tabernacle. In case you don't have a place to be on Sundays, we'd love to have you join us at the Tabernacle. You'll have to find the tab. It's out there. Pastor Timothy James Farrell. But in her class, we're talking about the evidence, an evidence-based driven theology, meaning how to be a defender of your faith. putting on the armor of God is part of putting on the armor is being versed in the word of God. So, historically, there's evidence. This isn't just pulling stuff out of the sky. We can prove a lot of this. But the disciples, for the most part, were all martyred except for John. And of course, he survived being boiled and then having poison poured down his throat, and still died at like 83 years of age, which doesn't mean he was an old man, but he didn't die crucified as many of them did, or they were just horrific capital corporal punishment that was perpetrated against these disciples. For what? Because they were spreading the word of Jesus Christ, which is my point, Chris. For a lie, if Jesus wasn't who he was, you might find a few people that would pay the ultimate price with their life, but would you be able to put together all of the inner circle of people around him? Which, if you take that, and I know this is kind of a far little leap, if indeed you had these cabinet members, and I do have another point with the whole analogy between Jesus, his disciples, and Trump and his cabinet. If you had all these cabinet members, Kristi Noem, Sean Duffy, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, and Marco Rubio, and all those people, they would continue to go down a road with Trump for a lie, or for the fact that there was any information out there that would be less than truthful about what they're trying to accomplish. I think that equally I just came up with that. I was going, and you don't have to touch on that right now, but I'd like to hear your opinion on it. But getting back to the Jesus, obviously they were willing to do this. And so here's some more evidence, Chris, and I want your opinion on this. This was put out by Donald J. Trump on his social media page by Mila Joy. Pete Hegseth's salary was an estimated $2.3 million in 2024, and he gave up 90% of his pay or his wealth in a salary to take on a job that pays $256, which is still a good amount of money. Janine Pirro, Judge Pirro, was making $5 million in 2024. Her new salary, $200,000, $198,000. Sean Duffy made an estimated $1 million last year. His new salary, obviously he did the best out of all of them, was $253,000. They aren't in it for the money. They are in it for the love of the country, pure patriots. What do you think, Chris? I understand there's notoriety. There's a lot that goes with it. But I'm sorry. But I also am not in a position to be hired on to the cabinet. I did well enough just to be part of Trump's lead team in his campaign by driving one of the shuttles,
Yeah. You look at them one by one, and I think they all, in their own right, are definitely there to try and make this a better country. I know Pete Hegseth, with his military background, I know that he felt like he wanted to make the military a better place, and he saw what was happening and how it was being abused and treated more as a social experiment rather than a way to defend the country. And I watched Janine talk about some of those issues about how these criminals were walking free when she thought that they should be taken care of. So, but at the end of the day, they're all going to come out.
And Sean Duffy at $1 million.
Sean Duffy, yeah, and I don't know. I know that he's already been in public service in terms of his
as a
position in Congress. So,
yeah, he's a
well, these people have had a long history of serving the public, and I don't
and not
think,
changing their tune. It's not like
yeah,
Janine Pirro. If you ever caught her show on Fox News, and you could go back and Judge Janine, right? She had it all going on. She's written books. I mean, these people aren't just polling. That's why I said you want to make money. Chris just brought it up. You want to make money as a teacher. He was talking about compensation and how sometimes professions say, well, we should be making money as much as doctors or as much as professional athletes. And it's like, okay, well, but your opportunity isn't limited. There are plenty of, and we'll just use an example, teachers who have broadened their horizons and now speak in front of, arenas of 50,000 people. I think you brought up Jordan Peterson as a professor. They have figured out a way to enlarge the amount of money. They're not sitting back in a public government run school system expecting to make as much money as somebody like Michael Jordan or somebody like Tom Brady, where hundreds of thousands of people during the course of a season buy tickets, which once again there's always an argument. Are the tickets outrageous? Yes, they are, but if
people
that's
are
what
paying for it.
people are paying.
Not like
If there
the
wasn't,
seats are
if
going
they were half empty stadiums, the tight tickets might come down, but people are paying for them. But that's the thing. This is the opposite of that. These people are working for our federal government, for the Trump administration, making less than they were making before, because I'm not going to call it nothing, because believe me, it's a lot of money they're still making as a salary. And granted, their job comes with a lot of responsibility. And, I'm sure they probably bankrolled a little bit of money. I don't think that the Duffy family or the Hegseth family or the Piero family are, they're not in financial straits. They're not going to go bankrupt tomorrow. But that's also been a part of what makes our country great. The ability to build wealth, the ability to save, the ability to work hard. These folks, all three of them, and I'm just throwing that out because it comes to light with, what you're willing to do for the cause, for the betterment of making America great again.
It's funny that somebody pointed out those numbers, that they're making less now and than before, but then you have other people like Ilhan Omar who basically make less than that, but have somehow managed to get their net worth up $30 million in 5 years. It's pretty insane.
And they don't come,
right?
No, I agree with you, Chris. Good point. I mean, that's a good thing to look at, which, and I don't want to drift too far, and we are. Hi guys, good to see you, Bob. Let me get you up there, Bob. Yep, Bob, always good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in and listening to the DPB show. Reminder to the audience, obviously, to all of you, I don't even audience, to my friends, you, the people that, that join us and share and continue to talk about it. Some of you have been with me all the way through back to the days at the radio. I ran into a lady yesterday at the storage facility that I stopped by because my wife and I, because we were downsizing, we had a storage facility, climate control. So I stopped in and it was fascinating. The lady behind the counter said, I used to listen to you at the radio station. And I was like, thank you. She goes, life gets busy and my time slot on Sundays at the radio station was good. It was the afternoon. I hope it was a peaceful, easy feeling. It was something that we could connect with. We were talking about the same thing we're talking about today, which is why we put on the full armor of God, which is corruption, which is brokenness, which is all the things that want to attack who we are. The evidence of that is it's about dividing us. It's about pitting us against one versus the other. And granted, there's a reason it's divided. Scripture is very clear. I just read it again this morning. Jesus didn't come to bring peace. He He came to bring, not peace. I mean, that's the thing. He came as a child, but at the end of his life, this is what he shared with the disciples. Household will be divided against household, mother against daughter, father against son. Family members will be split and divided, and that's where we're at. We're divided. We're going to continue to be divided because some people will choose to live a life of, patriotism, working for the country, for the betterment of humanity, and not betterment for the humanity of letting people do whatever they want when they want it, because that's not freedom. That's craziness. That's chaos. And we're not going to do that again. But appreciate all of you who do join us on 2 days a week from 4 to 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays, whether you're on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, or X. Continue to go out there, like, subscribe, share with friends, and join us in the comments section. I love to see the comments come up. They're always add a little, color to the commentary that we're giving, the political commentary. But Chris, yes, I mean, my point being is, great point. You have members of Congress who increased their net worth by 20, 30, 50 fold in a matter of a very short period of time. We're never talking about that.
Well, and it'd also be different if there was a demonstrable path for them to have done that. They wrote a book, they started a business, their spouse did X, Y, or Z, and we can see that became successful.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have done that, and it's obvious why their net worth went up. But some of these people, when you start to peel back the onion, there's nothing there. And that's in general as a country. I'm shocked at how accepting we are of fraud throughout the government. You see the issues in Minneapolis, and now we're starting to see some of the stuff that's going on in California, and obviously Illinois is rife with corruption because they refuse to put the lists out there for who's getting SNAP and who's getting all these benefits. So we know
the voter rolls.
The voter rolls, or pretty much anything. Everything's a big secret.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
amazing. and this is what is being highlighted in this post by Elon Musk. This shared on Truth Social by Trump. So he shared Elon's post, and because he put up a post on X that was stand up for Trump. Breaking in a bombshell revelation. CBS investigative journalist, and I know you guys know who she is. I think she got let go by CBS, Catherine Herridge. Did I say that right? Herridge, I think it is.
Yeah.
Has gone public with explosive allegations. CBS executives deliberately buried, surprise, 61 minutes. Obviously, the take on 60 minutes, 61, because they put an extra minute in there so Kamala could answer a question that she didn't have an answer for. But they buried the Hunter Biden laptop story and ordered her to wait until after the 2022 midterms to help the Democrat Party. What's your response to this? Make this go viral on X. Let's go. This is the corruption. It's continuing to show itself. Hey, Dusty, it's good to see you, man. How are you, bud? Thanks for jumping on real quick. Doing well, obviously, as you can see. We come here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 to 5. Chris and I were almost 3/4 of the way through the show. We've got a lot still to cover. I've got some screens I want to share, but we're doing good. You know why we're doing good? Because we're putting on the armor of God. That's what we're doing here. This is a good time. I think I pulled this up. It says in Ephesians 6, put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. That's what this is, folks. We're in the midst of spiritual warfare. When you hear things that you shouldn't hear, things try to attack you. It's because they're coming from the spiritual warfare that we struggle with. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. See, they finished it for me. But against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. A little segue, a little interjection. She's not here with us, but Mrs. Producer actually had Ephesians 6 in this entire verse on her desk at the school system, because every day, she had to confront the craziness of, administrators at the school she was at telling teachers that when it came to the kindergartners and first graders, that they couldn't line up the students in boy-girl lines anymore because some of them might not know who they are. So she had this because she needed this, and we all need this. This is what we need to do, is to realize that it's not against us. It's a spiritual battle that just supersedes anything. And not to say some of it isn't, auditory. We can't see, hear, feel it, but they are a dark world against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God. That's the theme of the show today. So that when the day of evil comes, which is right here, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted in the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows, believe me, they come, of the evil one. And especially the deeper you get into equipping yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, you will realize the attacks. Now, if you want to be milquetoast, if you want to be if you want to be one of these people who is going to be bullied by the left or bullied by anybody, you're gonna decide that, oh, I don't want to upset this person. I want to upset this person. No, I'm here today to upset people. I want to upset people. As Jesus said, I'm not here to bring peace, rather division. It's time we call this out for what it is. And this is why they don't like the Trump administration, because they're disruptors. They're uncovering this fraud and all this other crazy stuff. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. And then he goes on, Paul says, pray for me. And I ask you to pray for me. Dusty, pray for me. Dusty Ryan. Pam, hold on. What do you got to say, Pam? I had the opportunity to hear Seth Gruber in Arizona last Friday night. He started the White Rose Resistance pro-life movement. He gave a great explanation of how you knew it was a spiritual warfare. That's what we are in. No, there's no question about it. Everything that we have. You guys mentioned something about social service benefits. Last time I seen the publishment was 2017. Coles County being in Illinois, it's down just below Champaign, was at 4.7% to the state's budget for social service benefits dispersed, tied with Kankakee County, who has a triple population. Yeah. Dusty, you can dissect it. At the end of the day, it's all corrupt. And that's what eventually they're going to come in and find out, which is another reason why we have to equip ourselves, be ready for it, because that's what they deal in the realm of the fantasy, the make-believe, and they think it's going to all work out. Chris, obviously you've prepared yourself. I mean, in retirement, it is going to work itself out, but there's going to be some people that go down.
In terms of their retirement, they're not going to make their retirement goals.
No. I think there's going to be people who are not as prepared.
Oh yeah, I mean, people are not Well, I mean, that's just typical. Some people want to delay and not take responsibility for themselves, and then things don't go as they plan. That's just the way it is.
Well, and even more. So here's the sad reality of it, Chris. Illinois is not the most affordable place to be. Obviously, we're taxed on everything and anything, and if there's a new tax or a new way of taxing, they're going to do it. There are people who can weather that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who can't or choose not to, so they flee. They make an exodus. There are those of us like Chris, myself, who have chosen to stand and fight. And that's why Chris joined me here after his retirement on the DPB show, because Chris wants a voice. He wants people to know he's got great knowledge, as you know, in his prior background as a chartered financial analyst and his ability to understand money. He wants people to benefit. And I believe all of us can, there are no excuses. There's not equality of outcome. That's what the crazies on the left, the progressives want. They want everybody to have an equal base, but it's funny. They don't want to share. It's no different than when it comes to illegal aliens or the immigration. None of these people want to take people actually in their house. They don't show up to the protest, and look for the people to say, hey, come and live in my house and stay with me. I'll take care of you,
Well, that it's also kind of a false argument that these other sorts of ways to manage people through socialism or communism as opposed to capitalism somehow leads to a spot where everybody gets the same things. You go to China and look at how the people who are up in the Communist Party there live versus the average Chinese person, and they're living high on the hog. So, and you look at Russia, the people who are the political apparatchiks, I guess is the word to use. They had the great apartments, they had all the other stuff, while your average citizen was waiting in bread lines and forced to live in small, cramped apartments. So there is a pecking order, no matter what type of political system you implement. It just how the assets are distributed or how the rewards are distributed is different.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pull this up real quick here, make sure I get it shut off. And it does, and it, I didn't get it shut off in time, but I will get it shut off. 4:53. I didn't want to leave this show because putting on the full armor of God was demonstrated. We are all told that we had a choice. In America, we believe in choices. We believe in freedom, true freedom, not that stuff where, everybody has to be treated the same. Yes, everybody is worthy of respect and dignity and worth. However, not everybody's going to end up getting the same amount of universal income, the same benefits. We have a structured system that actually works and has worked for 250 years. But you had the choice of choosing, on Sunday, whether you even participated in the Super Bowl event. Not everybody did. People like Chris and I, who have waned a little bit from professional sports because, once again, it's become too politicized, just like the Olympics. Scott Robbins out there, my good friend Scott Robbins, was talking about that in a post of his, that, I just want to watch the Olympics. I just want to watch downhill skiing. I just want to watch figure skating. I don't need to know who these people voted for, what their philosophy is, what their ideology is, what their narrative is. I came here to watch them in the Winter Olympics in their sport.
What's even worse about that is that these people are allowing themselves to be used by foreign entities to destroy the United States. So when you look at there's this lady, Eileen Gu, I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation of her Chinese last name, but she's at the Winter Olympics representing China and then promoting all the negative talk from all the U.S. Olympic athletes. Of course, China's taking advantage of that. Of course, Russia's taking advantage of their criticism of the country, and they're using it to prop up their own. I'm be surprised if Iran's not using that to tap down the revolution that's going on there, saying that, oh, well, look at those Americans. They talk a big game, but look at their athletes. They all think it's a lousy place to live. So you don't realize how good you have it here. And they're taking advantage of that.
It's the great divide. It's how they continue to try to widen the chasm. They work on the hearts and the minds of people. They pervert things. They flip flop things. They do everything and anything to continue to try to perpetuate. A lot of them need it. They can't survive without it. It's what they do. And ultimately, I'll tell you what they don't do. And it was pointed out in Sunday's halftime presentation by Turning Point USA. Kid Rock, I think, nailed Until You Can't. It's a country song by JoJo or whatever his name is, but it has rocketed to the top of the charts of downloads of a song, and he sang it.
Well, he added his own verse at the end too.
He added the fourth verse to the three verses, and this is how this kind of went down, Chris. And he came out as Kid Rock of Days Gone By, the Detroit rocker.
Mm-hmm.
And his life has changed, as so many people have, because they put on the armor of God. They continue to seek something greater than themselves, even though I know Trump's always accused of only being a narcissist and all these other things, and the way his speech patterns are, because he constantly talks about, how he's Trump's been talking that way for, well, almost his whole life. So get over it. Here's a man who obviously had something change in his life.
Book that's sitting in your house somewhere that could use some dusting off. There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus, and He'll give you a second chance till you can't take it. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back. If you're gonna love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can, until you can, until you can. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back. If you're gonna love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can, until you can, until you can,
until you can't, Chris.
Until you can.
There's Charlie Kirk and obviously his bride.
Well, and that I feel like that just sums up the American experience, is that everybody has a chance to be successful. Everybody has a chance to take the bull by the horns and live the life that they choose they want to live.
But it's bigger than that, Chris. It's people acting upon it. We're covering.
Right. But you can't
cover
take the bull by the horns if you don't act on it.
You don't act on it. It takes action. You can dream, but you need to act on your dream, and you need to take a chance. And ultimately, as crazy as it is that I'm proposing to you today, that you got to guard yourself. You got to guard your heart. You can't compromise with truth. You can't compromise with people and think that you're going to come out of the other side. There is spiritual warfare. As Christ said, I came not for peace, but to divide. And he's going to. I mean, the division is being created. You know, it'd be nice if you thought we could sit around and kumbaya, but transformation happens. Kid Rock. Come on. If that would have been on your bingo card 10 years ago, that you said that Kid Rock would be on a halftime of a Super Bowl show singing about Jesus and giving your life to Jesus, how many people had that? They didn't, because he took a chance. He had a dream. He wanted something better for his life. You know, I'm sure he had sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, if ever there was a guy that had it, he had it. But he's convicted, and he took a chance. He took a chance the other night, standing on stage and coming up with the fourth verse to that song, Until You Can't. All right, Pam, what do you have to say? And then we're going to pray at our way out. Pam, what do you got? I was glad to now watch the Super Bowl. There are some Americans making it political and are the Olympics, sadly. Chris, yes, I thought how ironic she lives in the U.S. and gets a gold medal for China. Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, China's our number one adversary, and we have to realize that and accept that and do what we can to stop it.
Most watch YouTube. Yeah. The number. Yeah. You got to realize, yeah, they can't overcome. It's called the push, man. They, when you know that you're on the winning side, this is what Trump continues to demonstrate. Winning. Not to say it's a perfect winning strategy, but right now I think that Trump has got the proverbial boulder starting to really roll downhill. Not that he didn't have it before, but it's going to pick up momentum, and we're going to see things in 2026 that we've never seen before. In fact, we're seeing things that we've never seen before. But know this: protect your heart, protect your mind, protect your body, protect yourself spiritually. And the way we do that is pray. Chris, let me get my bald head out here and end the show. Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you for this opportunity to speak truth, to talk, to have commentary about the things in life that really perplex us, the things in life that weigh on our hearts. And granted, I get it. There's a lot of people that don't agree with this. And Lord, you know what? Be it, let your will be done. Not only in my life, but their lives. I pray for that. I pray for people that are in disagreement. I pray for people that are out there acting the fool, because I know that your power through the blood of our Savior, Jesus Christ, can overcome all of it, as it did for so many and continues to do for so many. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. I love you. Chris loves you. We're going to be back here in a short little turn on Thursday. Look forward to it. Until then, I bid you farewell or farewell, whatever that is.